Many fans of the Hunter x Hunter series consider the Chimera Ant Arc the climax of the entire story. It was so good and filled with many beloved characters. Besides the amazing action sequences and wonderful story, this arc also has a lot of emotional scenes. Some of these scenes can be so gut-wrenching and are sure to leave readers in tears, so today we'll be talking about why the Chimera Ant Arc will break your heart. Be warned, there are going to be a lot of spoilers. Gon and Killua. At the center of the Hunter x Hunter series lies the friendship between Gon and Killua. These two bonded early in the series during the Hunter exam arc and have been close friends since. Many fans believe that these two are the emotional core of the entire series, and as such, they are considered the main duo since their roles are pivotal in almost every arc. Unfortunately, fans who've come to love this pair are forced to endure some really stormy developments in their friendship during the Chimera Ant Arc. The relationship between Gon and Killua was pushed to its limit during the events of the Chimera Ant Arc. What makes it even more heartbreaking is that particular scene where Killua literally breaks down in tears after realizing just how much he cannot help Gon. It's a really gut-wrenching scene that is sure to leave a lump in your throat after witnessing two very good friends become so devastated. Kite's death. For the next reason why the Chimera Ant Arc of the Hunter x Hunter series will break your heart, we'll be shedding a little light on some of the tribulations Gon and Killua had to endure. A very significant one is Kite's death. In this scene, Gon breaks down after finding out that Kite is dead. As we all know, Gon is a character that always seemed like a beacon of hope and positivity throughout the series. Despite all the terrible situations or deadly opponents that he was forced to face, Gon was the kind of person who could find a way to have fun in anything. So to see him in such a distraught and hopeless state left fans of the series mortified. Because of his usual vibrant and lively nature, the few times that Gon does break are particularly heart-wrenching for lovers of the series. That being said, the most devastating example would be when Gon realized Kite could not be revived during the Chimera Ant Arc. As a result, Gon tore himself in two because he just could not accept the situation. This led to him having a mental breakdown since the reality that he has truly lost his mentor finally dawned on him. The death of Kite, Jinx's disciples, is one of the most shocking deaths in the series. The veteran professional hunter who Gon adored deeply has only just reunited with him for the first time in a long time when he was attacked by Neferpito. The ambush left him with missing an arm and a leg. Gon and Killua managed to escape while Kite kept trying to bide them time during the battle, but Killua was so overwhelmed by Pito's aura which ultimately caused him to give up completely. After the defeat, Gon tried to comfort Killua by trying to convince him that Kite is still alive. Unfortunately, all these hopes were dashed in the next scene where we could see Kite's decapitated head lying on Pito's lap. Realizing that Kite is truly dead, Gon rapidly grows into his mature form Gon-san and single-handedly took on Pito. The battle was intense and also pretty emotional because of how devastated the poor boy was. It was truly a shocking and heartbreaking loss in the series because no one could have predicted that Kite, a disciple of Jing who had killed other Chimera ants with ease, would meet such an unceremonious end. Kite's death happened so easily which made the whole thing even more depressing, but we later learned that all hope might not be lost just yet. We soon discovered that a little girl who is apparently Meruem's sister is named Kite too. So it's easy to assume that he reincarnated as a Chimera. This all started to make even more sense when Jing revealed that Kite's Nen ability has a special number that only appears when he desperately does not want to die. Because of this, many believe that Kite transferred his soul to the girl's body through this Nen ability. Meruem and Komugi's end brought fans to tears, as many fans believe the Chimera Ant Arc is the peak of Hunter x Hunter. Some even consider it the greatest arc in all of anime. Now this is a pretty bold statement, but it's easy to see where the idea comes from when you consider the fact that the series somehow managed to make fans sob over the death of the main antagonist. For as long as we can remember, Meruem was a threat to humanity in the series and his army killed many beloved characters. However, his reign of terror is not the only thing that we remember him from because of his story with Komugi. Their encounter was so touching and sympathetic that fans were heartbroken to see the Chimera Ant King die. Even though he was a villain for the most part, his last moments in the series saw him become a favorite among fans. As such, it's no wonder why many consider the Chimera Ant Arc to be Meruem's redemption arc. When the Gungi games began, fans were blown away by how easily Meruem could beat masters of each game after just learning the rules, and this was proof that he was the greatest. Despite how impressive all of his feats were, it soon became clear that he would have a problem because there was this one game with a certain disabled young girl that he just could not win. Of course, he took up the challenge, refusing to give up, and this was what allowed him to gradually learn more about humanity over time. Besides the gradual progress, Meruem found himself starting to care more about the girl than he should have. So much so that he tells Pito to prioritize Komugi's health over everything else. Soon he discovers that the poison Minotaur Rose would eventually kill him despite his royal guard saving him, and this caused him to make a request. He begged the girl to let him see and play the game with her since they had captured her as a bargaining chip for the king, and the only thing he wants to do is play again before he dies. When Meruem is finally told where she is, he informs her that he is poisoned by the rose and reveals that she will be infected if they stay together too long. In a really emotional turn of events, Komugi stays with Meruem, showing that she has never been happier as she claims that she will gladly die by his side just to spend a few more moments with him. It does take long before Meruem goes blind from the poison, and he continues to ask her if she is there. Soon, he gets tired, and in his last moments, he lies his head in her lap. Komugi promises to never leave him and that she will be with him when he wakes up. Meruem tells her to say his name one more time, and then he dies a few moments before the beautiful girl closes her eyes for the last time as well. For many fans, this is the only moment in the entire series that actually made them shed tears. Ponzo's death. Another heartbreaking thing about the Chimera Ant Arc is the death of yet another beloved character. Hunter x Hunter is a long-running shonen anime with a significant amount of episodes. Ponzo was introduced in the very first arc, the Hunter exam, where she was a minor character that the main heroes defeated, allowing them to go on and become hunters. She reappears years later during the Chimera Ant Arc, where she endured one of the most brutal, intense deaths of the entire series. There is very little shown about her death, since all we see is an image of her lifeless corpse being shot over and over again by a chimera ant was haunting for every fan. Before her heartbreaking demise, the Ponzo we're introduced to is a cute-looking female hunter who has appeared only a few times but has been around since the Hunter exam mark. She has medical knowledge and combines it with the bees in her hat. This made very popular with readers, especially since she was the only female character in the Hunter exam. She and Pokuru were working together as Shadow Beast hunters in the Chimera Ant Arc when they were attacked by chimera ants. While trying to escape, Ponzo was shot multiple times in the head by the chimera and was then eaten. The sudden and traumatizing scene was shocking for many fans because of how gentle this popular female character was. Right before her dying breath, she uses her special ability one last time to release a bee to deliver a message to Kite. Alluka and Killua. Another sad thing that will break your heart in the Chimera Ant Arc is Alluka and Killua's relationship. The final arc of the Hunter x Hunter anime centers around Killua and his younger sister, Alluka, also known as Nanika. This girl has been considered a tragic figure in the Zoldyck family since she was literally locked away in their basement due to the dangerous nature of her power. Out of all of the Zoldicks, Killua was the only one who has ever treated his young sister with respect or affection. The relationship between the brother and sister is pretty complicated for several reasons, and it all leads to a scene where Killua asks that one form of his sister to remain locked away forever. For many fans, it was a really heartbreaking scene, but at the end of the day, it gives rise to a wholesome and touching moment between the both of them. Ryoryu's origin story. When Gon started out his journey, Ryoryu was one of the first friends that he made along the way. He was a slightly older guy who had a desperate desire to make money and only thought of becoming a hunter to better facilitate that goal. While his ambitions seem greedy at first, it's not long before Ryoryu reveals why he's so desperate for cash. In a tragic backstory sequence, fans learned that Ryoryu's childhood friend died of a curable sickness due to not being able to afford the treatment. Gyro remains one of the most mysterious, enigmatic figures of the Hunter x Hunter world to this very day. Introduced in the Chimera Ant Arc, it's only vaguely implied who Gyro is. But regardless of how he connects to the overall story, fans were shown the tragic life Gyro had lived through as a child. He was an abused boy who was neglected by his father. He lived a sad life that culminated in him murdering his father and starting his own criminal empire. While Gon and Killua were in Doli City sometime after their encounter with Neferpitou, Gyro was also in the same city, though they never met. His location after the Chimera Ant Queen's death is unknown, but it is believed that he is trying to rebuild his empire again. During the siege on the royal palace of East Gorto, both Welfin and Ikalgo realized that Gyro was their king during their previous lives. Welfin still believes that Gyro is alive and is determined to find him. Thus, following the events culminating at the national rally in East Gorto, Welfin, Hina, and Bezef all depart to Meteor City, where, according to Welfin, they are likely to find Gyro as he attempts to establish a new nation. Prior to his death, Gyro was the king of NGL as well as the kingpin of its underground world, which means his authority extended to both sides of the law. It is thus safe to assume that he was the most powerful man in the country. His intelligence and skills are such that he successfully created a kingdom in 18 years, starting as little more than an orphan child and with a paltry amount of money. After being reborn as a Chimera Ant, his strength of mind and unquenchable hatred for humanity allowed him to retain his personality and memories, which prevented the Queen from controlling him. Gyro seems to have been an incredibly charismatic individual. His subordinates were, and in Welfin's case, are willing to defy death for his sake or even for his honor. And Ikalgo has such faith in him that he believes his former king to be still alive somewhere. Squala's retirement. During the events of the York New City arc, Kurapika took up a job as a bodyguard for a wealthy crime family. As part of that job, fans were introduced to a new cast of hunters that would serve as Kurapika's co-workers. One such character was a hunter who controlled dogs and had a budding romance with a fellow employee. Squala did not have a lot of screen time, but he was an example of a classic trope of someone at the cusp of retiring before being killed. He was mere days away from leaving the job behind and running off with his girlfriend before being slaughtered by the Phantom Troop. Reina and Kurt's deaths. Hunter x Hunter fans were introduced to two side characters who were only around for a brief sequence at the beginning of the Chimera Ant Arc. We're talking about Kurt and Reina. They were just two young children trying to survive the cold world alongside their mother. But things got worse for them when they were attacked by the ruthless Chimera Ants. Kurt was just a 10-year-old boy living in the NGL with his mom and little sister. One day, he and Reina went fishing, and they encountered a large crab Chimera Ant. Kurt tried to defend his sister, but the ant killed them both and brought their bodies to the Queen. It was such a hard watch to witness innocent children being killed like that, and it was really hard to believe for many. However, their death was not the most painful part because fans still had to watch the Queen finishing her meal while talking about how tasty the children were as Reina's bow fell to the ground. Sure, their time in the story was short, but we can't deny the fact that their appearance left a lingering impression in the minds of many fans. It was really sad to see their story come to an end so quickly, and even though their spirits would later find their way into new characters during the arc, it doesn't change the fact that their first deaths was a big blow. The Chimera Ant arc has many shocking moments, and the death of Kurt and Reina was definitely one of them. Another heartbreaking thing that you will see in this arc is Pokuru's death. Many fans believe that his death is one of the most brutal out of all of the characters in Hunter x Hunter. Initially, he was a fellow hunter who passed the hunter exam as Gon and the others but was later captured by a Chimera Ant. By some miracle, Pokuru managed to survive, and while he was trying to make it out alive by hiding in a pile of corpses, Neferpitou found him and tortured his brain, extracting all of his knowledge regarding Nan. In this gut-wrenching scene, we see Neferpitou use her needle-like instrument to prod Pokuru's brain to force him to reveal all of his knowledge on Nan. The sequence is definitely traumatizing, and what's even more devastating is the fact that Neferpitou chopped him into pieces with the cleaver and then fed him to the Queen after all the information was extracted from his brain because she had no use for him anymore. In the Hunter x Hunter series, we were introduced to Isaac Netero as the 12th chairman of the Hunter Association. He is practically the most powerful man in the story and was considered the strongest character. At the age of 46, Netero had already reached his limits, and in order to surpass them, he decided that he would train himself and do 10,000 punches of gratitude, just so that he could appreciate martial arts every day. When he started this, it would take him 18 hours to finish, but he kept developing his speed and skill to the point that he became so fast he could finish the whole 10,000 punches in only 1 hour. As you can imagine, that's a really big feat, and this bumped Netero to a legendary status since each punch was faster than the speed of sound. The first time we get to see Netero on the battlefield is in the Chimera Ant Arc. Here, he was forced to face King Meruem, and during the battle he unleashes all of the skills that he had, but even his strongest technique was still unable to defeat the king. It became clear that Netero would not be able to win after he lost an arm and a leg during the battle against Meruem. Things only got worse for him because his aura had been completely used up to unleash the Zero Hand. His body was brutalized and he was fatally wounded. So before he took his last breath, he used all of the strength inside of him to pierce his own heart with his own finger and then stop it. This caused a bomb called the Poor Man's Rose to activate, which devastated his opponents and left Meruem on the brink of death. This heartbreaking scene displays a massive explosion which is said to have been inspired by the 2 nuclear bombs that devastated Japan during the Pacific War, which is even more gut-wrenching when you think about it since so many people were poisoned by the bomb's explosion. As you can imagine, these are all really sad scenes which just goes to show how powerful and emotional this arc is. That's about it for our video on why the Chimera Ant Arc will break your heart. Thanks so much for watching and catch you in the next one.